Chinese cinema's recent output of martial arts films can be rather disappointing, with much focus of VFX trickery and quick edits. In comes in Yue Song, who confidently declares his latest feature the best martial arts movie in the last 20 years. Super Bodyguard is Yue Song's second directional effort after his directional debut, King of the Streets, released in 2012. Though Super Bodyguard never reaches the lofty heights that it claims to be, it is nonetheless a good effort in breathing some much missed bone-crunching on-screen martial arts mayhem. Super Bodyguard follows martial arts master Wu-Lin, who ventures to the great urban metropolis, recruited by martial arts brother Zhang Li to join his bodyguard company. Wu-Lin and Zhang Li share a history of training under the same master, with Lin being more favourable. So the legendary 108 kicks is only passed on to Lin, resulting in Li departing in anger. While waiting for his recruiter, Lin happens upon an attempted attack on a wealthy businessman, Jia Shangli. Coincidentally, Wu Lin's victim happens to be hiring a bodyguard to protect his daughter, Fei Fei, at Zhang Li's bodyguard company. Wu-Lin is picked from all other skilled individuals because of his simple nature. Li is not all he appears to be. Li works for a shady organization that is attempting to kidnap Fei Fei to get back at her father. Romance blossoms between Lin and Fei Fei, and Lin is expected to uphold his principles and protect the woman that he has sworn to protect from his evil martial arts brother. A collision in ideals assured, resulting in a final throwdown between the two brothers. Super Bodyguard's simplistic plotting relies heavily on cliches and coincidences, acting as a thin thread in stringing together action set pieces. The film shares much similarities with Corey Yun's 1994 film Bodyguard from Beijing, which itself borrows from Mick Jackson's 1992 film The Bodyguard, resulting in much familiarity but never quite compelling. There's an unsurprising twist towards the end, but its weak approach makes it barely register any emotional weight. Attempts at humour is also a bit hit and miss, though not entirely obtrusive. At times it can feel unnatural as our talents do not look comfortable with the on-screen foolery. The dramatic moments don't hit the right notes due to the poor characterization and plot development. Romance flourish in such a speed that it feels forced. The film is also plagued with poor writing. Cliched lines such as "my heart is on the right side" or "one creates his own destiny" are obvious ploys to make the audience elicit some kind of emotion. Much is reminiscent of the old school Hong Kong filmmaking, where all manner of random elements are thrown in and abrupt tonal shifts. A lot of zoom ins and zoom outs punctuate the film, familiar to those who grew up with 70s and 80s Hong Kong flicks. The musical score deserves a positive mention as it hits all the right marks in heightening the visual moment, especially during the more intense moments or moments of triumph. The score really shines. My biggest complaint is the bad editing choices laced throughout the film. Editing would occasionally jump from one moment to another abruptly, and it can be distracting at times, though thankfully it does not disrupt the fight scenes too heavily. The film also lacks any logical thinking. For example, a mid-film chase sequence where Wu-Lin is given an on-foot chase with the kidnappers who are driving in a van. Lin scales various vertical obstacles but is able to keep pace with the moving van and also ends up in front of the vehicle. Acting is serviceable, with Yue Song making a likable lead, more so than his recent contemporaries such as Tiger Chan. Shi Yanneng is fine as the badass protagonist, but suffers when he's required to emote pain and guilt, never managing to hit the right note. Not helping matters is his underwritten character, which is an archetype villain. Unfortunately, Li Yufei gives a terrible performance. She fails to give the range that is required from her. Moments that she is supposed to emote anger or panic are just not convincing. Not helping matters is the rushed romance and the lack of chemistry between the two leads. Michael Chan Wei-man and Collin Chou make welcome appearances, but sadly are underutilized. Action is the high point, with each blow and hit landing on each opponent with devastating effects. The use of close-ups, playback, and power powder all emphasize the power on display. There's a certain satisfaction seeing actual power on display, with some very fluid fighting ability in an age of digital imagery and pop star screen fighters. What suffers is the lack of long, intricate choreography and more of a highlight of some of the best moments, with focus on creating the most painful looking hit. These are the very same problems that plagued the more recent outings from Thai cinema, with each set piece feeling more like a showreel. There's no denying Yu's martial arts ability, but there's nothing to make him stand out among other on-screen martial artists. Though credit has to be given to him for suffering the same pains that he puts his stuntmen through. Shi Yanneng is a brilliant martial artist and is a great choice for exponent for Yu. Shi's kicking abilities is sadly not put to good use, which was sadly only ever really fully utilized in Kung Fu Hustle. Shi's fighting style is the iron hands, so the focus of his abilities is the hand techniques in which he demonstrates with ease and fluidity that only a true martial artist is capable of. Yu and Shi face off against each other twice, and their first encounter is short and is a brilliant teaser for their final showdown. But sadly, their grand finale failed to build up upon what has come before and ends as soon as things gets going. Also bogging it down is some quick edits and framing issues, though these problems don't feature frequently. There's also some odd choices in choreography, where some of the moves would not look out of place in a Stephen Chow film or the Looney Tunes episode. Yu's technique is stepping on people's feet, and during one epic battle, 1 versus 100 henchmen, a lot of his thugs surround Yu and he runs in a circle at a 45-degree angle, stepping on everyone's foot. It sounds odd and it looks odd for a live action film to employ. Collin Chou, who has a minor cameo, is sadly not used to great effect. Those looking for him to let loose will greatly be disappointed. For a project touting itself as the real deal, there are a lot of wire work involved, though it does not diminish from the skills and martial arts on display. Serving as director, writer, producer and choreographer, Yu's directional effort deserves praise for trying to resurrect the dying Chinese martial arts genre. This is definitely worth a watch for martial arts fans.